The Herbalist's Path. Emma stood at her office window on the 42nd floor, looking down at the city below. Tiny cars moved through streets like blood cells through veins. People looked like ants from this height, purposeful, busy, rushing somewhere. She was one of those ants, though right now she was suspended above them, separated by glass and height and a growing sense of disconnection. She was 39 years old. She had worked at this consulting firm for 16 years, climbing steadily from junior analyst to senior partner. She had everything she was supposed to want: high salary, corner office, respect from colleagues, annual bonuses that most people could only dream about. But Emma felt hollow. Each morning the alarm would sound, and she would feel a weight settle on her chest. Another day of meetings, spreadsheets, presentations, office politics. Another day of work that paid well but meant nothing to her. Another day of going through motions without feeling anything real. The stress was constant. Her jaw ached from grinding her teeth at night. Her stomach hurt from the coffee she drank to stay alert through endless meetings. Her shoulders were perpetually tense, carrying the weight of responsibilities she no longer cared about. She took pills to sleep, pills to stay awake, pills for her headaches, pills for her anxiety. Emma was successful but miserable, and increasingly she wondered, what was the point? Her assistant knocked and entered. "The Miller presentation is in 10 minutes, she said. "Conference room A." Emma nodded, gathered her materials, put on her professional mask. She walked down the hallway, heels clicking on polished floors, and entered the conference room where 6 colleagues waited. She delivered her presentation smoothly, confidently, the way she had delivered hundreds of presentations before. Everyone nodded approvingly. The client would be pleased. But inside, Emma felt nothing. No satisfaction, no pride, no sense of accomplishment, just emptiness. That evening, Emma sat in her apartment eating takeout directly from the container. She lived alone in a modern condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and expensive furniture. Everything was sleek and minimalist and perfectly designed. Everything was also cold and impersonal, more like a hotel than a home. She turned on the television for background noise, but didn't really watch it. She scrolled through her phone without reading anything. She was just filling time until she could take her sleeping pill and escape into unconsciousness. Her phone rang. Her mother. Emma almost didn't answer. She wasn't in the mood to talk, but guilt made her pick up. "Hi, Mom," Emma said, trying to sound upbeat. "Emma, honey, are you okay? You sound tired." "I'm fine, just busy at work." Her mother was quiet for a moment. Then, "Emma, I'm worried about you. You work too hard. You never take time for yourself. When was the last time you did something just for joy?"
Emma couldn't remember. "I'm fine, Mom, really." "You don't sound fine. You sound exhausted. You sound—" Her mother paused. "You sound the way I felt before I had my breakdown. That same flatness in your voice, that same going through the motions quality." Emma's mother had suffered a severe stress-related breakdown 10 years earlier. She had been a high-powered executive herself before it happened. The breakdown had been a wake-up call. She had left her career, moved to a small town, completely changed her life. Now she ran a small tea shop and seemed happier than Emma had ever known her. "I'm not having a breakdown," Emma said defensively. "Not yet," her mother said gently, "but you're heading there. I can hear it. Please, Emma, take care of yourself. Take a break, something, before it's too late." They talked a bit more, then said goodbye. Emma sat in silence, her mother's words echoing. Was she heading for a breakdown? She was certainly stressed, exhausted, unhappy, but she could manage. She always managed. She was strong, capable, in control. Wasn't she? That night, Emma couldn't sleep despite her pill. She lay awake thinking about her life. Where had she gone wrong? She had done everything right. Good grades, good university, good job, steady advancement. She had followed the script perfectly. So why did she feel like a failure? Maybe the script was wrong. Maybe success, as defined by society, money, status, career achievement, wasn't actually success at all. Maybe real success was something else entirely. Happiness, meaning, purpose, connection. Emma thought about her mother's tea shop. It made a fraction of the money Emma's job did, but her mother seemed content, peaceful, fulfilled. She worked with her hands, served customers face to face, created a welcoming space. Simple work, but meaningful. What would meaningful work look like for Emma? What had she loved before career ambitions took over? She tried to remember. In high school, she had loved gardening. She had maintained an herb garden with her grandmother, learning plant names and properties. She had made simple remedies, teas for colds, salves for cuts, tinctures for various ailments. She had loved that work, the connection to plants, the satisfaction of helping people naturally, the sense of participating in something ancient and important. But that was just a hobby, a childhood interest, not a real career, not something you could build a life around. Or could you? Emma's mind started spinning with possibility. What if she left her job? What if she learned herbalism seriously, professionally? What if she opened a shop like her mother, but focused on herbs and natural remedies? What if she built a completely different life? The idea was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. Terrifying because it meant leaving security, risking everything, potentially failing. Exhilarating because it felt right, felt true, felt like something she actually wanted.
Emma got up and made tea, chamomile for calming. She sat by the window, looking at the city lights, and thought about her life, about choices, about what truly mattered. By the time the sun rose, she had made a decision. She would do it. She would leave her job. She would learn herbalism. She would build a different life. It was crazy, risky, possibly stupid, but staying in her current life felt impossible. She would rather try and fail at something meaningful than succeed at something empty. Emma felt scared, but also, for the first time in years, alive. Emma gave 6 months' notice at work. Her boss was shocked, tried to convince her to stay with offers of promotion and raises. Her colleagues thought she was having a midlife crisis, but Emma was certain. She was done with corporate life. Those 6 months she prepared.
She researched herbalism programs and found a respected school that offered a year-long intensive certification. She applied and was accepted. She would start in September. She also began divesting herself of unnecessary possessions. Her condo was full of expensive things she had bought to fill the emptiness: designer clothes, expensive electronics, art she didn't even like. Emma sold or donated most of it. She kept only what was essential or truly meaningful. The process was liberating. Each thing released felt like shedding weight. She had accumulated so much without realizing it, physical clutter that mirrored her mental clutter. Letting go of possessions felt like letting go of old ways of being. Emma also started learning informally. She read books about herbs and natural medicine. She took weekend workshops on plant identification, tincture making, salve preparation. She started her own small herb garden on her condo balcony, growing basil, mint, chamomile, lavender. Working with the plants brought Emma unexpected joy. The simple acts, planting seeds, watering, harvesting, felt grounding and real in a way her office work never had. She would come home stressed from work and spend an hour with her plants, and the stress would dissolve. She also visited her mother frequently, helping in the tea shop, learning from her experience of major life transition. Her mother was supportive and encouraging. "I'm proud of you," her mother said one afternoon as they worked together organizing tea tins. "It takes courage to change your life. Most people never find that courage. They stay stuck in unfulfilling situations because change feels too scary." "I'm terrified," Emma admitted. "What if I can't make it work? What if I run out of money? What if I'm terrible at herbalism?" "Those are valid fears," her mother said. "But consider this. What if you succeed? What if you discover work you love? What if you build a life that actually fulfills you? Isn't that possibility worth the risk?" Emma thought about this often. Yes, she might fail, but she was already failing to live authentically, failing to find meaning, failing to be happy. At least this way, she would fail while trying to create something better.
Her last day at the consulting firm arrived. There was a farewell party, speeches, a generous gift certificate. People wished her well, though most clearly thought she was making a mistake. Emma felt no regret. She was ready to leave, ready to begin her new life. The next day, she woke with no alarm, no schedule, no obligations. For the first time in 16 years, she was unemployed. It felt strange and wonderful. She made coffee slowly, ate breakfast without rushing, sat on her balcony among her herbs, feeling the morning sun. This was day one of her new life. She had savings to support herself for about 2 years if she lived frugally. The herbalism program started in 2 months. In the meantime, she would study, prepare, maybe travel a bit. Emma decided to visit an herbal community she had read about, a small, intentional community where people lived simply and practiced herbalism together. She wanted to see what dedicated herbal practice looked like, wanted to meet people who had built lives around plants and healing. The community was located in rural mountains, several hours from the city. Emma drove there on a sunny June morning, windows down, music playing, feeling more relaxed than she had in years. The landscape gradually changed from urban to suburban to rural, buildings giving way to fields and forests.
The community occupied several acres of land in a beautiful valley. Emma saw gardens, greenhouses, a large barn converted to classroom space, several small cabins where members lived. Everything was orderly and well-maintained, clearly the work of people who cared deeply about their place and purpose. A woman greeted her, Martha, one of the community's founding members. She was perhaps 70, with white hair and sun-weathered skin, wearing practical clothes covered in garden dirt. "Welcome," Martha said warmly. "You must be Emma. We're glad you're visiting. Come, I'll show you around." Martha gave Emma a tour. She showed her the medicinal herb gardens where dozens of plants grew: echinacea, calendula, St. John's wort, valerian, passion flower, yarrow. She showed the drying room where harvested herbs hung in bundles, filling the air with complex fragrance. She showed the workshop where tinctures, salves, and teas were prepared. "We grow most of what we use," Martha explained. "We harvest sustainably, prepare everything by hand, sell through local shops and our website. It's not a huge business, but it supports our community and shares healing plants with people who need them." Emma was fascinated. This was exactly what she wanted to learn, not just herbal theory, but practical application, not just book knowledge, but embodied wisdom. "Can I stay for a few days, learn from you? I'll help with any work that needs doing." Martha smiled. "Of course, we welcome learners. You can stay in our guest cabin. In exchange for room and board, you'll work in the gardens and workshops with us. You'll learn by doing." Emma stayed for 2 weeks. She worked alongside community members, learning to identify plants, harvest properly, prepare medicines. She learned which herbs helped which conditions, how to combine plants for maximum effect, how to respect the intelligence of the plants themselves. But she learned more than herbalism. She learned about simple living, growing food, cooking from scratch, living with less. She learned about community, sharing meals, working together, supporting each other. She learned about rhythm, waking with sunrise, working through the day, resting in the evening, living in alignment with natural cycles. The community members worked hard, but without stress. They moved at a sustainable pace, took breaks when needed, never rushed. Work was interspersed with conversation, laughter, tea breaks. It felt human in a way Emma's office work never had. One evening, Emma sat with Martha watching the sunset over the garden. The older woman was trimming lavender, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. "What brought you to this life?" Emma asked. "Same thing that's bringing you," Martha said. "Burnout from conventional career, realization that the life I was living wasn't actually mine, it was what I'd been taught to want. I needed to find what I truly wanted, what called to my soul." "And herbs called to you?" "Plants called to me. The quietness of gardens, the satisfaction of growing medicine, the ancient practice of healing with nature. Yes, it all called very clearly." She looked at Emma. "What calls to you?" Emma thought. "The same things, and also, I want to help people, but not in abstract corporate ways, in real, tangible ways, making medicine that eases someone's pain or helps them sleep or soothes their stress. That feels meaningful in a way consulting never did." Martha nodded. "Herbalism is service. You're not making money from people suffering. You're offering help. usually quite affordably. That changes the relationship. You're not extracting value, but contributing it. They sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell and fireflies began to glow in the garden. Emma felt peaceful, grounded, certain she was on the right path. When she left the community to return to the city, Martha hugged her. "You'll do well," she said. "You have good hands and a good heart. That's what matters in this work. Study hard, practice diligently, always respect the plants. They'll teach you what you need to know." Emma drove home feeling renewed and focused. She had 2 months before her program started. She would use that time to study, to prepare her body and mind to get ready for the intensive year of learning ahead.
The herbalism program was rigorous. Classes met 3 days a week, with additional workshops on weekends. Students learned botany, pharmacology, anatomy, physiology, diagnosis, and treatment planning. They learned to identify hundreds of plants, to understand their properties and uses, to combine them effectively. But it wasn't just academic. They spent hours in gardens learning to grow medicinal plants. They made tinctures, teas, salves, syrups, elixirs. They practiced on each other, treating minor ailments, learning to observe and listen and choose appropriate remedies. Emma loved it. The learning was challenging but engaging. Unlike her business degree, which had felt abstract and disconnected, this learning felt immediate and practical. She was gaining knowledge she could use, skills that would help people. She also loved her fellow students. They were diverse in age and background, but united by a commitment to herbal healing. Some were young people fresh from college. Some were middle-aged career changers like Emma. Some were older people pursuing long-deferred dreams. They studied together, practiced together, supported each other through difficult material and personal challenges. A real community formed based on shared passion and mutual support. One classmate became a particular friend. Her name was Rosa. She was 45, had been a nurse, but wanted to integrate herbal medicine into her healing practice. Rosa was warm, funny, deeply knowledgeable about the body and health. "I got tired of just managing symptoms with pharmaceuticals," Rosa explained one day as they studied together. "I wanted to address root causes, to support the body's own healing capacity. Herbs do that in ways conventional medicine often doesn't." Emma and Rosa would study together for hours, quizzing each other on plant properties, practicing palpation and observation skills, discussing case studies. They became not just study partners, but true friends. The program was intense. Emma would spend all day in class, then evenings studying. Weekends involved workshops or field trips to identify wild plants. She had little time for anything else. But she didn't mind. She was completely engaged, learning voraciously, developing skills that felt meaningful. Unlike her corporate work, which had drained her, this work energized her. She would study for 8 hours and feel exhilarated rather than exhausted. She also noticed changes in herself. The chronic tension in her body eased. Her digestion improved. She slept better. She smiled more. She felt like herself for the first time in years.
not the corporate persona she had constructed, but her authentic self. Part of the program involved clinical practice. Students worked in a student clinic, seeing real patients under supervision. Emma loved this work. She would spend an hour with each patient, taking detailed history, observing carefully, asking questions, then recommending herbal protocols. The patients appreciated her attention. Unlike doctor visits that lasted 10 minutes and ended with a prescription, Emma spent time with them, really listened, addressed them as whole people rather than collections of symptoms. Many reported significant improvement from the herbal protocols she suggested. "You have a gift for this," her supervisor told Emma after observing several of her patient sessions. "You listen well, you observe carefully, you think holistically. These are crucial skills in herbalism. Keep developing them." As the year progressed, Emma's knowledge deepened. She could identify hundreds of plants on site. She understood complex interactions between herbs and body systems. She could design sophisticated treatment protocols for various conditions. But more importantly, she developed relationship with the plants themselves. She learned to approach them with respect and gratitude, to ask permission before harvesting, to take only what was needed. She learned to trust her intuition about which plants a person needed, even when logic suggested something else. This was the art of herbalism as opposed to the science. Both were necessary. Science provided knowledge about constituents and actions. Art provided wisdom about application and relationship. Emma was learning both. The program culminated in comprehensive exams, written tests, plant identification challenges, case study presentations. Emma studied intensely for weeks, then took the exams, feeling both nervous and prepared. She passed everything. After a year of intense study, she was certified as a clinical herbalist. She had knowledge, skills, and official recognition of her competence. But more than that, she had found her calling. She knew with absolute certainty that this was her work. Making plant medicine, helping people heal, teaching others about herbs, this was what she was meant to do. After completing her certification, Emma needed to decide what came next. She could work for someone else, an herb shop, a clinic, a community health center, or she could start her own practice. The former was safer, the latter more aligned with her vision. Emma chose to start her own practice. She was through with playing safe. She found a small storefront in a neighborhood transitioning from industrial to artsy. The rent was affordable, the space had good energy, and there was foot traffic from people interested in natural health and handmade goods. The space needed work. It had been empty for months, was dusty and neglected. But Emma could see its potential. A front area for retail sales of herbs and products, a back room for consultations, maybe a small workshop space for classes. She spent weeks cleaning, painting, building shelves, setting up. She did most of the work herself to save money, calling on friends to help with heavy tasks. Rosa came several times, helping paint walls and arrange furniture. "This is going to be beautiful," Rosa said, looking around at the transformed space. "You're creating something special here." Emma called her shop the Herbalist's Path. The name reflected both her own journey and the idea that herbs offered a path to healing. She designed a simple logo, a winding path through plants. She created a website, printed business cards, made flyers. She stocked the shop carefully, ordering dried herbs in bulk, making tinctures and salves and teas to sell. Everything was high quality, sustainably sourced, or made by her own hands. She priced things fairly, enough to support herself, but not so high as to be inaccessible. The shop opened on a crisp October morning. Emma unlocked the door at 9, turned on the lights, and waited. Would anyone come? Had she made a terrible mistake? The first customer arrived at 9:30, an elderly woman looking for chamomile tea. Emma helped her select a blend, explained how to prepare it properly, sent her off with a warm feeling. Not a huge sale, but a start. More customers trickled in throughout the day. Some were just browsing. Some bought tea or herbs. A few asked about consultations, interested in personalized herbal support for health issues. Emma scheduled appointments with them for the coming weeks.
By closing time, Emma had made several $100s in sales and booked 5 consultations. Not enough to cover rent and expenses yet, but a promising beginning. She locked up and walked through the neighborhood, feeling proud and scared and hopeful. She had really done it, left her corporate career, trained in a new field, opened her own business. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. It was real. Over the following months, the practice grew steadily. Regular customers developed, people who came weekly for tea, who brought friends, who spread word about the shop. Emma built relationships with them, learned their names and stories, became part of their lives. She also developed her consultation practice. People came with various issues: insomnia, anxiety, digestive problems, chronic pain, menstrual difficulties, skin conditions. Emma would spend an hour with each person, taking detailed history, understanding their whole situation, then creating a customized herbal protocol. Many people saw significant improvement. A woman with severe insomnia started sleeping through the night after 2 weeks on a nervine tincture blend. A man with chronic digestive issues found relief through a combination of gut-healing herbs and dietary changes. A teenager with bad acne cleared up using topical salves and internal blood-purifying herbs. These successes brought more clients through referrals. Emma's calendar filled with appointments. She was working long hours, managing the shop, seeing clients, making products, ordering supplies, handling bookkeeping. But unlike her corporate hours, these felt meaningful. She was helping real people in tangible ways. She also started teaching. Once a month, she offered free classes on basic herbalism, how to make tea properly, simple home remedies, identifying common medicinal plants. These classes attracted curious beginners, some of whom became regular customers or private students.
One student was a young woman named Lily, who was 19 and intensely interested in herbalism. Lily started coming to every class, asking thoughtful questions, helping Emma with shop tasks in exchange for learning opportunities. "Can I apprentice with you?" Lily asked one day. "I want to learn seriously, not just take occasional classes. I could help in the shop, with product making, whatever you need. In exchange, you could teach me properly." Emma hesitated. She had never taken an apprentice. Did she know enough to teach someone that intensively? But she remembered how Martha and others had generously shared knowledge with her. Perhaps it was time to begin passing that knowledge forward. "Okay," Emma agreed. "Come 3 days a week. You'll help with shop work and product making. I'll teach you what I know. We'll learn together." Lily proved to be an excellent apprentice. She was eager, hard-working, respectful. She absorbed information quickly and applied it thoughtfully. Having her help also freed Emma to see more clients and develop new products. By the end of her first year, the herbalist's path was thriving. Not wildly profitable, but sustainable. Emma was making enough to cover expenses and pay herself a modest salary. More importantly, she was doing work she loved, helping people, building community around herbal healing. She thought often about her old life, the corner office, the high salary, the corporate prestige. She didn't miss any of it. She had traded money and status for meaning and purpose. It was the best trade she had ever made. As Emma moved into her second year of practice, she focused on deepening her skills and knowledge. She took advanced courses in specific areas: gynecological herbalism, digestive health, mental health support. She attended conferences where she met other herbalists, learned new approaches, made connections. She also started developing specializations. She found she had particular affinity for working with anxiety and depression through herbs and lifestyle counseling. Many clients came to her with these issues, and she had high success rates helping them. Another specialty was supporting women through various life transitions: puberty, pregnancy, postpartum, menopause. Emma loved this work, helping women navigate these profound changes with herbal and nutritional support. Word spread about her expertise. Doctors started referring patients to her, recognizing that herbal medicine could complement conventional treatment. Emma built collaborative relationships with several physicians, each respecting the other's approach. One doctor, a family practitioner named Dr. Sarah Chen, became a particular ally. Dr. Chen was interested in integrative medicine and saw value in herbalism. She would refer patients to Emma for support with conditions like anxiety, insomnia, and digestive issues. Emma would send patients to Dr. Chen when they needed conventional diagnostics or treatments. "We're better together," Dr. Chen told Emma over coffee one afternoon. "You address root causes and support healing capacity. I handle acute crises and serious diseases. Patients benefit from both approaches." This kind of collaboration was rare but valuable. Emma appreciated working with a doctor who respected herbal medicine rather than dismissing it. Together, they could provide more comprehensive care than either could alone. Emma also deepened her relationship with plants themselves. She started growing many of her own medicinal herbs in a garden plot she rented on the edge of town. She would spend hours tending plants, talking to them, observing their growth cycles, harvesting mindfully. Working directly with growing plants taught Emma things no book could. She learned to recognize plant stress, to understand what different plants needed, to harvest at optimal times. She developed an intuitive relationship with the plants, could sense what they were communicating. This might sound mystical, but Emma experienced it as practical wisdom. Plants that were stressed produced inferior medicine. Plants harvested at wrong times had weaker effects. By developing attunement with the plants, Emma could make better medicine. She also started wildcrafting, harvesting medicinal plants from wild spaces. She learned to identify plants in various stages of growth, to assess population health, to harvest sustainably without damaging populations. This required extensive knowledge and careful attention. Rosa, who had also established her own practice, would sometimes join Emma on wildcrafting expeditions. They would hike into forests or meadows, identifying plants, harvesting respectfully, enjoying nature and friendship.
"This is so different from nursing," Rosa said one day as they harvested nettle in a spring meadow. "Hospital work was sterile, artificial, disconnected from nature. This feels real, grounded, connected to something ancient and important." "I feel the same," Emma agreed. "Corporate work was abstract, dealing with numbers and concepts. This is tangible, real plants, real people, real healing. It feeds my soul in a way office work never did." As Emma's third year in practice approached, she felt established and confident. The shop was doing well financially. Her client base was large and loyal. Her apprentice Lily was flourishing, nearly ready to practice independently. Emma had built exactly the life and work she had envisioned. But she also felt ready for new challenges. She wanted to expand her impact, to share herbal knowledge more widely. She started thinking about writing a book, about creating online courses, about ways to reach people beyond her local community. She also thought about training other herbalists. Many people asked about apprenticeship opportunities. Emma couldn't take them all, but maybe she could create a more formal training program, teaching multiple students at once. These ideas excited Emma. She had been a student, then a solo practitioner. Now she was ready to become a teacher in a broader sense, to contribute to the larger herbalism community.
Emma developed a year-long apprenticeship program, accepting 5 students for her first cohort. The program was intensive. Students would work in the shop, attend weekly classes, participate in plant walks and medicine-making workshops, and complete a clinical internship under Emma's supervision. The application process was competitive. Emma interviewed dozens of interested people and selected 5 who showed genuine commitment, appropriate humility, and desire to serve rather than just learn skills. The 5 students were diverse. There was Marcus, a 23-year-old recent college graduate interested in clinical herbalism. There was Helen, a 50-year-old former teacher wanting to integrate herbs into wellness education. There was David, a 35-year-old carpenter drawn to medicine making. There was Sophia, a 28-year-old yoga teacher interested in Ayurvedic approaches.
And there was James, a 40-year-old physician's assistant, wanting to expand his healing toolkit. Teaching 5 students simultaneously was challenging but rewarding. Emma had to organize information systematically, think through pedagogical sequences, balance individual needs with group instruction. But watching her students grow and develop brought deep satisfaction. She taught them everything she knew: botany, pharmacology, medicine making, clinical assessment, ethics, business basics. But she also taught values: respect for plants, commitment to serving patients, humility about limitations, dedication to continuing learning. Herbalism is a lifelong path, she told her students. You'll never know everything. There's always more to learn, more nuance to understand. Good herbalists stay curious, stay humble, stay open to what plants and patients teach them. The students responded well. They studied hard, asked thoughtful questions, supported each other's learning. They formed a cohort with real community bonds, studying together, practicing on each other, sharing challenges and insights. By mid-year, they were doing clinical work under Emma's supervision. She would observe their patient consultations, offering feedback on their questioning, observation, and treatment planning. She watched them grow in confidence and competence. One afternoon, Emma observed Marcus working with a patient who had chronic anxiety. Marcus took a thorough history, asked perceptive questions about triggers and patterns, and designed a sophisticated herbal protocol combining nervines, adaptogens, and digestive support. It was exactly what Emma would have recommended. After the patient left, Emma told Marcus, "That was excellent work. You understood the whole picture, not just the anxiety, but the underlying stress and digestive issues contributing to it. You're thinking like an herbalist now." Marcus beamed with pride. This was why Emma taught, these moments when students made breakthroughs, when knowledge clicked into place, when competence emerged. As the year progressed, Emma added other teaching venues. She started offering weekend intensives for people who couldn't commit to the full apprenticeship. These weekend workshops covered specific topics: making tinctures, supporting digestive health, herbs for stress and anxiety, medicinal plants of the local region. These workshops attracted people from far away. Word had spread about Emma's teaching, and students traveled hours to attend. Emma found she loved teaching groups, loved sharing knowledge, loved watching people discover herbalism. She also started writing. She began with articles for herbal magazines, sharing case studies and clinical insights. Then she started a blog on her website, posting regularly about herbs, health, and healing philosophy. The blog attracted thousands of readers, spreading her influence beyond local boundaries. A publisher approached Emma about writing a book. They wanted a practical guide to herbalism for home use, how to make basic medicines, which herbs to keep stocked, simple protocols for common conditions. Emma agreed, excited to reach an even wider audience. Writing the book took a year. Emma worked on it during quiet moments in the shop, late evenings at home, occasional dedicated writing retreats. She poured everything she knew into it, making it comprehensive but accessible, scientifically sound but not overly technical. When the book was published, it became a bestseller in its category. People loved its practical focus, clear explanations, and emphasis on safety and respect for herbs. Emma did book tours, gave talks at bookstores and conferences, appeared on podcasts and radio shows. The book's success brought more students to her apprenticeship program and more customers to her shop. Emma had to hire additional help to manage everything. She brought on Rosa part-time to help with clinical work. She hired a shop manager so she could focus on teaching and writing. The business was thriving, but Emma was careful not to let growth compromise quality. She didn't want to become a business manager again, didn't want to lose touch with plants and patients. She kept her practice small enough that she could maintain direct involvement in everything. "I left corporate life for a reason," she reminded herself when opportunities for rapid expansion appeared. "I wanted meaningful work at human scale, not another empire to manage. Stay true to that vision."
As Emma's practice matured into its 5th year, she became increasingly interested in community building. Herbalism wasn't just individual healing, it was about creating healthy communities, teaching people to care for themselves and each other. Emma started organizing monthly community events at the shop. Herbal swaps where people traded plants and knowledge, medicine-making circles where groups would make remedies together, plant walks where she'd lead groups through nearby wild areas identifying medicinal plants. These events built community around herbal practice. People got to know each other, formed friendships, created networks of mutual support. Some started their own study groups, practicing together, supporting each other's learning. Emma also started a community herb garden on a vacant lot that the city let her use for free. She organized volunteers to build raised beds, plant medicinal herbs, and maintain the space. The garden became a teaching site where people could learn hands-on about growing medicine. Everyone should know how to grow at least a few medicinal herbs, Emma believed. Even apartment dwellers can grow chamomile or mint in pots. Having direct relationship with medicinal plants empowers people, makes them less dependent on industrial medicine. The garden attracted diverse participants, young families who wanted to grow food and medicine, elderly people who loved gardening and wanted to contribute, teenagers looking for volunteer hours, immigrants who recognized plants from their home countries and shared traditional knowledge. This cross-cultural exchange enriched Emma's understanding. Herbalism existed in every culture, each with unique knowledge and approaches. By learning from diverse traditions, Emma became a better, more versatile herbalist. She also started working with underserved populations. She offered free monthly clinics for people who couldn't afford conventional medical care or her regular consultation fees. She worked with a local homeless shelter, providing herbal first aid kits and teaching staff basic herbal care. This work was important to Emma. Herbal medicine should be accessible to everyone, not just people who could afford boutique health care. By donating time and medicine, Emma could help people who needed it most. One regular attendee at the free clinic was a woman named Linda, who was homeless and dealing with chronic health issues. Through months of herbal support and patient encouragement, Linda's health improved significantly. Eventually, with Emma's help connecting her to social services, Linda got housing and a job. "You saved my life," Linda told Emma, "not just with herbs, though they helped, but by treating me like a person, like someone worthy of care. Most people looked through me like I was invisible. You saw me."
These moments reminded Emma why she did this work. The money and business success were nice, but this, really helping people, making tangible positive difference, this was the point. As the community around Emma's practice grew, it began attracting attention. A local newspaper did a feature story about her work. A television station filmed a segment about the community garden. Emma was invited to speak at the city council about the value of community herbalism and urban gardens. Emma accepted these opportunities selectively. She didn't want fame or attention for their own sake, but she wanted to spread awareness about herbal medicine, to make it more accessible and accepted. If media attention served that purpose, she would use it. Through all this activity, Emma maintained her core practices, seeing patients, making medicine, tending plants, teaching students. No matter how busy she got, she protected time for direct hands-on work. That was the heart of everything, the foundation on which everything else was built. Emma moved through her 50s, still active and engaged, but beginning to think about legacy and succession. She had built something valuable, not just a business, but a community, a body of knowledge, a way of practicing herbalism that integrated clinical rigor with heart and accessibility. What would happen to all this when she eventually retired or died? Emma wanted to ensure the work continued, that the knowledge was preserved and passed forward. She started documenting everything systematically. She created detailed protocols for common conditions. She filmed her medicine-making processes. She wrote about her clinical approach and philosophy. She wanted to leave resources that future herbalists could learn from. She also focused on training the next generation of teachers. Several of her former apprentices had gone on to establish their own practices. Emma started training them specifically in teaching methodology, preparing them to train others. One former apprentice, Marcus, had become an excellent clinician and showed a gift for teaching. Emma worked with him intensively for a year, sharing everything she knew about curriculum design, student assessment, creating effective learning experiences. "You'll carry this forward," Emma told Marcus. "You'll train students who will train others. The lineage continues. That's how herbalism survives and thrives, through this chain of teaching, generation to generation." Marcus was honored and slightly overwhelmed. "I hope I can do justice to what you've taught me," he said. "You will," Emma assured him. "You already are. Trust yourself. Trust the plants. Trust the process. The work will unfold as it needs to." Emma also worked on her second book, this one more philosophical, about herbalism as spiritual practice, about relationship with plants, about healing as transformation rather than just symptom removal. It was more personal than her first book, sharing her own journey and insights gained through years of practice. Writing this book required Emma to reflect deeply on her path. She thought about the burned-out corporate executive she had been, the seeking student she had become, the established practitioner and teacher she now was. It had been a profound transformation, every bit as significant as any physical healing she had facilitated.
"Herbalism saved my life," she wrote in the book's introduction. "Not because I was physically ill, though I was certainly stressed and depleted, but because it gave me a path when I was lost,
purpose when I felt empty, connection when I was isolated. Learning to work with plants taught me how to work with myself, patiently, respectfully, honoring natural rhythms and cycles. The book resonated deeply with readers. Many were in similar situations, successful by conventional measures, but unfulfilled, seeking something more meaningful. Emma's story gave them hope and a possible path forward. Emma received hundreds of letters from readers sharing how the book had affected them. Some had left unfulfilling careers to pursue herbalism. Others had simply begun growing herbs and making simple remedies for their families. Still others had found inspiration to make changes in different directions, pursuing art, starting farms, simplifying their lives. "Your book gave me permission to change," one reader wrote. "I thought I was stuck in my corporate job forever. Reading about your transformation showed me that change was possible, that I could build a different kind of life." These letters moved Emma deeply. Her influence extended far beyond the patients she saw directly, far beyond the students she taught in person. Through her writing and speaking, she was touching thousands of lives, inspiring transformations she would never directly witness. As Emma approached 60, she thought about retirement. Not complete retirement. She couldn't imagine stopping work entirely, but scaling back, creating more space for rest and personal pursuits, letting the younger generation take more leadership. She gradually reduced her clinical hours, seeing patients only 2 days a week instead of 5. She stopped teaching the full apprenticeship program, instead offering occasional intensive workshops. She remained involved in the shop, but hired a manager to handle daily operations. This created space for things Emma had long wanted to do. She traveled to study with herbalists in other countries, spending time with Ayurvedic practitioners in India, traditional healers in Mexico, village herbalists in rural China. These journeys enriched her understanding and reminded her that herbalism was a global tradition with endless variations. She also spent more time in nature, simply being with plants without agenda, walking in forests, sitting in meadows, observing plants through seasons. This contemplative practice deepened her relationship with the green world. One afternoon, sitting in a meadow full of blooming chamomile, Emma felt profound gratitude. She had lived well. She had done meaningful work. She had helped many people. She had taught well. She had built something that would continue beyond her own life. What more could anyone ask? She thought about the corporate executive she had been 20 years earlier, stressed, exhausted, empty. That woman seemed like a stranger now. Emma had transformed completely, had woven a new life from the threads of plants and healing. No regrets. Only gratitude for the courage she had found to change, for the teachers who had guided her, for the plants that had healed and taught her, for the patients who had trusted her, for the students who had learned from her. She had lived a good life, and the best part, the work would continue. The knowledge would flow forward. The healing would go on. Emma worked well into her 70s, finally fully retiring at 76. The herbalist's path continued under new ownership. Marcus and 2 other former apprentices bought the business, committed to maintaining its values and approach. The shop thrived under their leadership. They expanded the apprenticeship program, served more patients, developed new products, built on the foundation Emma had created. Emma would visit occasionally, enjoying being a student again, learning from her former students who had developed their own expertise. Emma spent her retirement quietly. She maintained a small herb garden at her cottage. She wrote occasionally for herbal journals. She mentored young herbalists who sought her wisdom. She was content, at peace, satisfied with a life well lived. When Emma died at 82, her memorial was held in the community garden she had started decades earlier. Hundreds of people came, former patients, students, colleagues, community members whose lives she had touched. They shared stories about Emma, about her generosity, her wisdom, her dedication to making herbal medicine accessible. Marcus spoke about what Emma had taught him. Emma showed me that herbalism isn't just a profession, it's a way of life. She taught me to listen deeply to plants and people, to respect both, to serve humbly. She believed everyone deserved access to healing, and she lived that belief through her free clinics, her affordable prices, her generous teaching. I carry her legacy forward in my own practice, training my own students, keeping the chain of knowledge alive. Rosa talked about Emma's transformation. I met Emma when we were both starting our herbalism journey, both leaving conventional careers to pursue this work. I watched her blossom from an anxious beginner to a confident master. She never lost her humility or her wonder. She remained a student even as she became a teacher. That's the mark of a true herbalist, knowing there's always more to learn. Lily, Emma's first apprentice, shared, "Emma took a chance on me when I was 19 and knew nothing. She taught me not just herbalism, but how to live ethically, how to serve others, how to work with integrity. Everything good in my life and practice traces back to what she taught me. I hope to honor her by teaching the same values to my own students." The community garden was renamed Emma's Garden in her honor. A scholarship was established in her name to support students who wanted to study herbalism but lacked financial resources. Her 2 books remained in print, continuing to inspire new generations of herbalists. But Emma's truest legacy lived in people, the hundreds of patients she had helped heal, the dozens of students she had trained, the thousands of readers she had inspired, the community she had built. Each carried forward some piece of her knowledge, her values, her vision of accessible, compassionate, plant-based healing. Her students trained their own students. Her patients shared what they had learned with family and friends. Her books continued finding new readers. The knowledge flowed forward like a river, spreading and branching, but never drying up. 20 years after Emma's death, a young woman named Kara visited the herbalist's path for the first time. Kara was 37, burning out from her corporate marketing job, searching for something more meaningful. She had found Emma's second book in a bookstore and been profoundly moved by it. Walking into the shop, Kara felt welcomed by warm lighting, the scent of herbs, walls lined with jars of dried plants. Marcus, now in his 60s, greeted her kindly.
"How can I help you?" he asked. "I read Emma Morrison's book," Kara said. "It changed how I think about my life. I wanted to learn more about herbalism, about whether it might be a path for me." Marcus smiled. "Emma was my teacher. She'd be happy to know her book is still inspiring people. Let me show you around, tell you about our apprenticeship program." As Marcus showed Kara the shop and shared Emma's story, Kara felt hope rising. Maybe she could make a change like Emma had. Maybe she could build a different kind of life. Maybe
it wasn't too late. She signed up for an introductory workshop, then another. Then she applied to the apprenticeship program and was accepted. Over the following year, she studied intensively, discovering the same passion for plants and healing that Emma had discovered decades earlier. Cara left her marketing job. She trained as an herbalist. She eventually opened her own practice in a different city, serving her own community, teaching her own students, carrying forward the knowledge and values that had flowed from Emma through Marcus, through her. The chain continued. The lineage remained unbroken. The knowledge flowed on. Emma's path had become a highway traveled by countless seekers finding their way from conventional careers to meaningful work, from disconnection to relationship with plants and healing, from empty success to fulfilling service. The herbalist's path continues, winding through generations, calling to those who need it, offering transformation to those brave enough to walk it. And somewhere, in gardens and meadows and forests, medicinal plants still grow, offering their gifts to anyone humble enough to learn their language, patient enough to study their wisdom, respectful enough to honor their power. The green world continues its ancient work of healing, teaching, nourishing, and humans continue learning to partner with it, generation after generation, seeking health and wholeness through relationship with plants. Emma's story is one thread in this vast tapestry, but it's a strong thread, brightly colored, woven with integrity and care. It strengthens the whole pattern, inspires other threads, helps create the larger design of humans and plants working together for healing. The chain continues, the teaching flows, the healing goes on, now and always, forever green. Sweet dreams.
In her mid-60s, Emma entered a new phase of her herbalism practice. She had mastered the technical aspects, the botany, pharmacology, medicine making, but now she was developing something deeper, intuitive communication with plants themselves. This had always been present in her work, but now it became central. Emma would sit with a plant, in the garden, in the wild, even holding dried herbs, and listen, not with her ears, but with some other faculty, some deeper knowing. The plants would communicate their properties, their personalities, their gifts, not in words, but in impressions, feelings, images, a sense of what they offered, how they wanted to be used, who they could help. At first, Emma questioned this. Was she just imagining it, projecting her book knowledge onto plants? But the information she received was too specific, too accurate, too surprising to be just her imagination. The plants were teaching her. She developed a practice of sitting with each herb before using it clinically. She would hold the dried herb or visit the growing plant and spend time in attentive silence, asking, "What are your gifts? How can you help? Who needs you?" Insights would come, sometimes confirming what books taught, sometimes offering nuances books didn't mention. A particular herb might communicate that it worked better at night than morning, or that it needed to be combined with a specific companion herb, or that it was especially good for a particular type of person. Emma started incorporating this intuitive information into her practice.
She would consult both her technical knowledge and her plant intuition when designing protocols. The results improved. Patients responded better to protocols that emerged from this combined approach. She taught this practice to her advanced students. Many were skeptical at first. It seemed too mystical, too subjective. But when they tried it honestly, they too began receiving impressions from plants. It's not magic, Emma explained. It's relationship. When you spend time with plants, really pay attention to them, grow them, work with them, you develop sensitivity. You learn to pick up on subtle cues. It's like how you can sense a friend's mood without them saying anything. You're reading energy, pattern, information that's real but nonverbal. This teaching attracted some students and alienated others. Those focused purely on scientific herbalism thought Emma was going too far into woo-woo territory. But others, especially those interested in traditional indigenous approaches to plants, resonated deeply with this teaching. Emma didn't insist everyone practice this way. Different herbalists had different gifts. Some were strongest in scientific analysis, others in energetic sensitivity. Both approaches had value. Emma simply shared what she had learned, letting students take what served them. She also deepened her study of traditional healing systems that had always included this kind of plant communication. She studied with Native American herbalists who spoke of plants as teachers and relatives. She learned from Amazonian curanderos who worked with plant spirits. She explored Celtic traditions that recognized plants as allies with consciousness.
These traditions confirmed what Emma was experiencing. For most of human history, people who worked with medicinal plants approached them as conscious beings, as teachers and partners, rather than just chemical compounds to be exploited. Emma was recovering an ancient way of knowing, one that Western science had dismissed, but that traditional cultures maintained. One transformative experience came during a plant medicine ceremony in Peru. Emma participated in an ayahuasca ceremony led by an experienced curandero. The experience was profound. She felt herself merge with plant consciousness, understood at a cellular level the interconnection of all life, received teachings about healing and herbalism that she could never have learned from books. The curandero told her afterward, "The plants recognize you as a healer. They want to work with you, but you must always approach them with respect, with humility, with gratitude. They are not servants, but partners. Treat them as you would treat honored teachers." This became Emma's approach. Before harvesting, she would ask permission and give thanks. Before using herbs clinically, she would request their help. Before teaching about a plant, she would spend time connecting with it directly. Some colleagues thought this was silly superstition, but Emma didn't care. Her results spoke for themselves. Patients healed. Students learned. The work was effective and meaningful. Whatever label people wanted to put on her methods, they worked. As Emma moved through her late 60s, she focused increasingly on training teachers. She had trained many individual herbalists, but now she wanted to train people who would train others, multiplying her impact across generations. She developed an advanced program specifically for experienced herbalists who wanted to become educators. The program ran for 2 years and covered not just herbalism, but pedagogical theory,
curriculum design, student assessment, creating inclusive learning environments. The first cohort had 8 students, all experienced herbalists who had been practicing for at least 5 years. They came from diverse backgrounds and approaches: clinical herbalists, wildcrafters, Ayurvedic practitioners, traditional Chinese medicine specialists, folk herbalists. Emma taught them to honor this diversity rather than insisting on one right way. Herbalism has many valid forms, she said. Each tradition has wisdom to offer. Good teachers recognize this. Help students find the approaches that resonate with them rather than forcing everyone into one mold. She also taught them about accessibility. Not everyone can afford expensive programs or has the privilege to quit their jobs to study full-time. Think about how to make herbal education accessible. Sliding scale fees, weekend formats, work-trade arrangements, distance learning options. Knowledge wants to spread, not be hoarded by those with resources. The teacher training program was demanding. Students had to design curriculum, practice teaching under observation, work with diverse learning styles, handle difficult teaching situations. But it was also rewarding. They grew not just as teachers, but as herbalists, deepening their own understanding through having to articulate it for students. One teacher trainee was a woman named Patricia, who had been practicing herbalism for 20 years in a rural area. She was brilliant clinically, but had never taught formally. Through the program, she discovered she had a gift for it.
"I never thought of myself as a teacher," Patricia said. "I just practiced herbalism. But now I see that teaching is another form of service. By training herbalists, I'm multiplying the healing that can happen. One good herbalist might help hundreds of people, but an herbalist who trains 10 others, that's potentially thousands of people helped." After completing the program, Patricia opened her own school in her rural area, offering affordable training to people who couldn't travel to cities or afford expensive programs. She took Emma's vision of accessible education and adapted it to her community's specific needs. Other graduates did similar things, starting programs in their regions, each adapted to local needs and populations. Emma watched with satisfaction as herbal education spread and diversified, becoming more accessible and more culturally responsive. She also worked on creating educational resources that could support new teachers. She filmed dozens of teaching videos covering everything from basic plant identification to complex clinical reasoning. She wrote teacher's guides with suggested lesson plans, activities, assessment rubrics. She created a mentorship network where new teachers could get support from experienced ones. All of these resources were made freely available online. Emma didn't want to profit from them. She wanted knowledge to spread as widely as possible. She had been given so much by her teachers. This was her way of giving back. The impact was significant. Herbalism schools started appearing across the country, many using Emma's materials and methods. A whole generation of new herbalists was being trained, spreading knowledge of plant medicine into communities that had lost connection with it. Emma received messages from people using her resources in surprising places. A prison education program teaching inmates herbalism,
a refugee resettlement organization helping immigrants grow medicinal plants from their home countries, a youth program teaching urban teenagers about plant medicine, an elder care facility using herbs with dementia patients. Each of these applications moved Emma. Herbalism was returning to its proper place, not elite boutique medicine for wealthy people, but people's medicine, community medicine, medicine that empowers rather than creates dependency. She worked to keep herbalism affordable and accessible in her own practice, too. She continued offering free monthly clinics. She provided herbs at cost to people with financial hardship. She trained community health workers to provide basic herbal care in their neighborhoods. One community health worker Emma trained was a woman named Juana, who worked primarily with immigrant families. Emma taught Juana about herbs commonly used in Latin American folk medicine and how to grow them locally. Juana created a healing garden at the community center where she worked, growing medicina plants and teaching families to use them. My grandmother was a curandera in Guatemala, but that knowledge was lost when we came here. You've helped me reconnect with my heritage and bring it to my community. Now families can heal themselves the way our ancestors did. These stories reminded Emma why the work mattered. She wasn't just teaching herbalism, she was helping restore cultural healing practices, empowering communities, keeping alive knowledge that industrial medicine had nearly erased.
Emma's 70th year brought unexpected challenges. She was diagnosed with breast cancer. The irony wasn't lost on her. The healer needed healing. She approached the diagnosis thoughtfully. She consulted with oncologists, learned about her specific cancer type, understood her treatment options. She also consulted with trusted herbalist colleagues about supportive care during treatment. Emma decided on a combined approach. She would do the surgery and chemotherapy her doctors recommended, but she would also use herbs to support her body through treatment, to mitigate side effects, to optimize her immune function. This integration of conventional and herbal medicine reflected Emma's mature perspective. She wasn't ideological about it. She used what worked. For cancer, conventional medicine had better track record with aggressive intervention, but herbal medicine could make that intervention more tolerable and support recovery. The surgery went well. The chemotherapy was harder. Emma experienced the typical side effects of nausea, fatigue, hair loss, but her herbal protocol helped. Ginger and peppermint tea for nausea, adaptogenic herbs for energy support, immune-modulating mushrooms, liver-supporting herbs to help process chemo drugs. Emma documented her experience, writing about it for herbal journals. She wanted to share what she learned about supporting patients through cancer treatment. She was honest about both the benefits of herbs and their limitations. "Herbs aren't magic," she wrote. "They didn't cure my cancer, but they made treatment more bearable. They supported my body's resilience. They addressed side effects that conventional medicine couldn't fully manage. They were valuable adjuncts, not replacements for necessary medical treatment." This nuanced perspective was important. Some in the herbal community promoted herbs as cancer cures, which Emma found dangerous and irresponsible. Others dismissed herbs entirely as irrelevant to serious disease. Emma's position was more balanced. Herbs as supportive care,
working alongside conventional treatment when appropriate. Her students rallied around her during treatment. They covered her clinical appointments, managed the shop, prepared meals, provided support. Emma was touched by their care. She had given them knowledge and training. They returned love and service. Marcus, now running his own successful practice and school, visited Emma regularly during chemo. "You taught me everything," he said. "Now let me take care of you." Rosa, her old friend from herbalism school, came weekly to give Emma massage and simply sit with her. "You've been there for so many people. Let us be there for you." The support made the hard months more bearable. Emma learned something important. Receiving care was as valuable as giving it. She had spent years in the healer role. Now she needed to be patient, to receive, to accept vulnerability. The cancer experience also deepened Emma's empathy for patients facing serious illness. She had worked with many cancer patients, supporting them through treatment, but now she understood from inside what it felt like: the fear, the exhaustion, the loss of control, the constant awareness of mortality.
This informed her future practice. She could meet patients with deeper compassion, could understand their experience more fully. Illness was a teacher, harsh but valuable. After 6 months of treatment, Emma's scans showed no remaining cancer. She was in remission. Her doctors were cautiously optimistic. Emma was grateful but realistic. She knew remission wasn't guaranteed. She would need to monitor carefully, live healthily, stay attentive. The experience changed her perspective. She had always valued each day, but now that value was sharper, more immediate. She didn't know how much time she had. Did anyone? She would use whatever time remained meaningfully. She returned to work gradually, seeing patients part-time, teaching occasionally. She had less energy than before and needed to be selective about commitments, but what she did with full presence and appreciation. Cancer was a teacher, she told her students. It taught me that time is precious, that health can't be taken for granted, that vulnerability is part of being human. It also taught me that community matters, that we need each other, that giving and receiving care are both essential. The cancer experience became part of her teaching. She spoke openly about it, sharing what she learned medically and personally. Students appreciated her honesty and vulnerability. It made her more human, more relatable. It also made her teaching about serious illness more credible. She knew from experience what patients faced. She could offer not just theoretical knowledge, but embodied wisdom. Emma continued practicing into her mid-70s, though at reduced capacity. She saw patients 2 mornings a week, taught 1 afternoon class, spent the rest of her time in the garden, writing, or simply resting. Her energy was limited, but her wisdom had deepened. Patients who saw her now received something different than when she was younger, not just skilled treatment, but profound presence, the accumulated understanding of decades of practice. One patient told Emma, "There's something special about being treated by you. You've seen so much, helped so many people. When you recommend something, I trust it completely. But more than that, you see me, really see me. Not just my symptoms, but my whole life, my whole being. That itself is healing. Emma was training her successor. Lily, her very first apprentice, who was now 40 and an accomplished herbalist, would take over Emma's practice when she retired. They worked together for 2 years, Lily gradually assuming more of Emma's caseload, learning Emma's approach with specific patients. "I can't replace you," Lily said. "You're unique, but I can continue what you started, honor what you've built, serve the community you've served." "That's all anyone can do," Emma said. "The work is larger than any individual. We each contribute what we can, then pass it to the next person. The lineage continues." Emma was also working on her legacy in other ways. She donated her extensive herbal library to the school Marcus ran, knowing students would benefit from books she had collected over decades. She created a trust to support the community garden and free clinic, ensuring they could continue even without her direct involvement. She wrote letters to her many former students, sharing final teachings and encouragement. To each, she wrote something personal, specific to their work and challenges. These letters became treasured possessions, guidance to return to when students faced difficulty. To Marcus, she wrote, "You've become everything I hoped. A skilled healer, a gifted teacher, a leader in the herbalism community. Trust yourself. You know more than you think. And stay humble. There's always more to learn." To Rosa, she wrote, "Your integration of nursing and herbalism has created something unique and valuable. Keep bridging those worlds. Patients need practitioners who understand both conventional and herbal medicine, who can work collaboratively." To Juana, she wrote, "Your work bringing plant medicine to your community honors both your grandmother's legacy and the communities you serve. This is what herbalism should be: culturally rooted, community-based, accessible." Emma also spent time in nature, simply being with plants. She would sit in the medicinal garden for hours, surrounded by herbs she had grown and worked with for decades. She felt deep gratitude for these plant teachers who had given her so much: a livelihood, a purpose, a path of transformation. She talked to the plants sometimes. "Thank you," she would say to the chamomile. "You've helped so many people sleep peacefully." To the echinacea, "You've supported countless immune systems, helped people through illness." To the lavender, "You've brought calm to anxious hearts, mine included." These weren't metaphorical communications. Emma felt the plants respond, felt their presence, felt held by the green world that had been her companion for over 30 years. One spring afternoon, sitting among blooming herbs with bees humming around her, Emma felt complete peace. She had lived well. She had done her work. She had helped many people. She had trained excellent herbalists who would continue the work. She had contributed something meaningful to the world. Whatever time remained, months, years, she would spend it simply, being with plants, supporting students, seeing occasional patients, writing when inspired, resting when tired, living fully present in each moment.
Emma died peacefully at 78. She had been working in the garden on a beautiful May morning, planting chamomile seedlings.
she sat back to rest, and her heart simply stopped. She died surrounded by the plants she loved, doing work that had meaning to her until the very end. Her memorial was held in the community garden that still bore her name. Hundreds of people came, patients whose lives she had touched, students she had trained, colleagues she had worked with, community members who had benefited from her vision of accessible herbalism. The garden was in full bloom, herbs flowering in beds Emma had helped design years ago. The scent of lavender and roses filled the air. People sat on benches among the plants, sharing memories. Marcus spoke first. Emma was my teacher, my mentor, my friend. She taught me that herbalism is more than memorizing plant properties. It's about relationship with plants, with patients, with community. She showed me that real healing addresses not just physical symptoms, but whole lives, whole communities. Every patient I help, every student I teach, I carry her influence. Rosa shared her perspective. Rosa and I started our herbalism journey together. Two middle-aged women leaving conventional careers to pursue something more meaningful. I watched her transform from uncertain beginner to confident master. She never lost her wonder, her humility, her commitment to learning. She remained a student even as she became a renowned teacher. Lily talked about Emma's generosity. I was 19 when Emma took me on as her first apprentice. She took a chance on me when I had nothing to offer but enthusiasm. She taught me not just herbalism, but how to live ethically, how to serve others, how to work with integrity. Everything good in my practice traces back to what she taught me. Juana spoke about Emma's commitment to accessible medicine. Emma believed everyone deserved access to healing, regardless of ability to pay. She offered free clinics, affordable herbal medicines, training for community health workers. She understood that herbalism should serve all people, especially those marginalized by conventional medical systems. She lived that commitment every day. Dr. Sarah Chen, Emma's physician collaborator, offered perspective from conventional medicine. Emma showed me that herbalists can be rigorous, scientific, evidence-based, while also being holistic and patient-centered. She changed how I think about medicine, helped me see value in approaches outside my training. Our healthcare system needs more people like Emma, bridging worlds, integrating modalities, always keeping patients' well-being central. Many others shared stories. The homeless woman Emma had helped get housing and health care. The student who had discovered herbalism through Emma's free community classes. The physician's assistant who had added herbs to his practice after studying with Emma. Each story revealed another facet of Emma's impact. She had touched so many lives in so many ways, not just through direct healing, but through teaching, community building, advocacy, writing, example. After the speeches, people participated in a ceremonial planting. Each person planted an herb seedling in Emma's honor, creating a new medicinal garden section dedicated to her memory. Chamomile, lavender, echinacea, calendula,
all Emma's favorites. As people planted, they spoke quiet words of gratitude, sharing what Emma had meant to them, what they had learned from her, how they would carry her legacy forward. The planting was both sad and hopeful. Sad because Emma was gone, hopeful because her influence would continue through the people she had trained, the communities she had served, the knowledge she had shared. Marcus spoke final words as the sun set over the garden. Emma's path continues, not through her physical presence, but through all of us who carry her teachings. Every time we prepare herbal medicine, we honor her training. Every time we teach a student, we extend her lineage. Every time we offer affordable care, we live her values. She's not gone. She's multiplied, present in all the work she inspired. Emma's ashes were scattered in the medicinal garden, among the herbs she had loved and worked with. Her energy returned to the soil, would feed the plants, would continue supporting the healing work. The cycle was complete.
20 years after Emma's death, herbalism had transformed. What had been alternative medicine practiced by scattered individuals had become a recognized field with professional standards, respected schools, integration with conventional healthcare. Emma's influence was woven throughout this transformation. Her students led major herbalism schools. Her books were required reading in programs across the country. Her protocols were used by thousands of practitioners. Her vision of accessible, community-based herbalism had shaped the field's values. The Herbalist's Path, her original shop, still operated under Lily's ownership. It had expanded, now occupying the entire building, with consulting rooms, classroom space, a larger dispensary, even a small cafe serving medicinal teas. But it maintained Emma's values: sliding scale fees, free monthly clinics, community classes, work trade apprenticeships, commitment to affordable, accessible herbal medicine. The community garden Emma started had also expanded. What began as one vacant lot was now a network of 10 medicinal gardens across the city, managed by community volunteers, providing free fresh herbs to low-income neighborhoods. Marcus's school had become one of the largest and most respected in the country. It trained hundreds of students annually, placing graduates in clinical practices, hospitals, community health centers, teaching positions. Every graduate learned about Emma, her journey, her values, her vision. Emma Morrison believed herbalism should serve everyone, Marcus would tell new students on their first day, not just wealthy people who can afford boutique health care. Everyone, especially those facing barriers to conventional medicine. If you're here just to build a profitable business, this isn't the right school. If you're here to serve, to help, to make medicine accessible, welcome. You're continuing Emma's work. Emma's second book, the philosophical one about herbalism as spiritual practice, had become a classic. It was required reading not just in herbal programs, but in integrative medicine programs, in courses on medical humanities, even in some philosophy and environmental studies courses. A new generation was discovering Emma through that book. Young people disillusioned with corporate careers, seeking meaning and purpose. They would read Emma's story of transformation and feel hope. If she could change her life at 40, maybe they could too. Some followed her specific path into herbalism,
but others used her story as inspiration for different transformations, leaving unfulfilling work to become farmers, artists, teachers, social workers. The specific career mattered less than the principle, choosing meaning over money, service over status, authentic purpose over conventional success. A documentary filmmaker made a film about Emma's life and influence, The Herbalist's Path, one woman's journey from corporate success to meaningful service, premiered at film festivals and was later broadcast widely. The film showed Emma's transformation, her years building her practice and training students, her final years sharing wisdom. But it also showed her legacy, the students who became teachers, the communities served by free clinics, the cultural healing practices preserved and revitalized. The documentary inspired many people. Some became herbalists, others started community gardens, still others left unfulfilling careers to pursue meaningful work in various fields. Emma's story became a touchstone for people seeking transformation.
Scholarly articles were written about Emma's contributions to herbalism. Academic researchers analyzed her integration of scientific rigor and traditional knowledge, her community-based approach, her emphasis on accessibility and social justice. One researcher interviewed dozens of Emma's former students, documenting how her teaching had influenced the field. The resulting book, Teaching Green, Emma Morrison's Pedagogy and Legacy, became important in discussions about herbal education. What emerged from all this study was a portrait of someone who had lived with integrity and purpose, who had transformed herself and helped transform others, who had left the world genuinely better than she found it. Not through grand gestures or dramatic achievements, but through consistent dedication to work she believed in, through generosity with knowledge, through commitment to making healing accessible, through treating every patient and student with dignity and care. This was Emma's real legacy, not fame or wealth, but meaningful work well done, knowledge generously shared, lives genuinely helped, community carefully built.
In the present day, a woman named Anna stood at her office window looking down at the city below. She was 38 years old, a successful marketing executive, and completely miserable. She had everything she was supposed to want: high salary, prestigious position, nice apartment. But she felt hollow, exhausted, disconnected from any sense of meaning or purpose. Anna had been scrolling on her phone during lunch when an article about Emma Morrison caught her attention. She clicked through and found herself reading Emma's story: corporate burnout at 39, discovery of herbalism, complete life transformation, decades of meaningful work. The story spoke directly to Anna's situation. She felt seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. Emma had been where Anna was now, successful but empty, achieving but unfulfilled, and Emma had found a way out, had built a different kind of life. Anna started researching. She found Emma's books, read them both in 2 days. She found interviews with Emma's students, watched the documentary about her life. She visited the Herbalist's Path, talked to Lily about Emma's vision. Emma believed anyone could transform their life if they found work that truly called to them, Lily told Anna.
It doesn't have to be herbalism specifically, but it should be something meaningful, something that serves others, something that aligns with your deepest values. Herbalism does call to me, Anna admitted. I've always loved plants, always been interested in natural healing, but it seemed impractical, impossible to build a life around. That's what Emma thought too, Lily said, but she did it anyway, and so have hundreds of her students. It's possible, challenging, but possible. Anna made a decision. She would follow Emma's path. She gave 6 months' notice at her job. She signed up for herbalism training. She began divesting herself of unnecessary possessions, simplifying her life, preparing for transformation. As she made these changes, Anna felt a connection to Emma across time. They had never met. Emma had died before Anna even knew she existed. But Emma's story, Emma's example, Emma's legacy was guiding Anna now. Anna understood she wasn't just following one woman's path. She was joining a lineage of people who had chosen meaning over money, service over status, authentic purpose over conventional success. Emma was part of that lineage, had strengthened it through her life and work. Anna would be another link in the chain. The herbalism program was challenging but engaging. Anna discovered she loved the work, the plants, the healing, the community. She thrived in her studies, found teachers who inspired her, made friends who understood her path. After certification, Anna established her own practice, different from Emma's in specifics, but aligned in values. She served her community, taught students, made medicine accessible. She carried forward the vision Emma had embodied. And she would one day train students who would train their own students, extending the lineage forward. The knowledge would continue flowing, the healing would continue happening, the transformation would continue spreading. Emma's path had become many paths, each unique but all connected, all oriented towards service and meaning and authentic work. Together they formed a network, a movement, a way of being in the world that prioritized purpose over profit, that recognized healing as relational and holistic, that understood plants as teachers and allies. The herbalist's path continues, winding through time, calling to those who need it, offering transformation to those brave enough to walk it. In gardens and clinics, in kitchens and classrooms, people work with medicinal plants. They grow herbs, prepare medicines, help patients, train students. Each is individual, yet each is connected to all the others through shared knowledge, shared values, shared commitment to green healing. They're part of Emma's legacy, whether they know her name or not. The values she lived, the knowledge she shared, the vision she embodied, these continue through them, through their work, through the ripple effects of healing spreading outward in ever-widening circles. The green world continues its ancient work. Plants grow, bloom, offer their gifts, and humans continue partnering with them, learning their language, sharing their medicine, honoring their wisdom. The path continues, the teaching flows, the healing goes on. Emma's journey from corporate burnout to herbal mastery, from lost to found, from empty to fulfilled, that journey is available to anyone brave enough to seek it, patient enough to walk it, committed enough to live it. The herbalist's path calls. Will you answer? Sleep now, dear listener. Let Emma's story wrap around you like healing herbs. Know that transformation awaits, that meaningful work is possible, that authentic life calls to you. Rest deeply. Dream of plants and healing, of purpose and service, of lives transformed through courage and choice. All is well. The path is clear. The herbs are waiting. Now and always and forever. The green way calls. Sweet dreams.
50 years after Emma's death, a researcher named Dr. Michelle Torres was conducting a study on the history of clinical herbalism in America. She was specifically interested in how herbalism had transitioned from fringe alternative medicine to a respected integrative healthcare field. Emma Morrison kept appearing in her research. Former students spoke of her influence. Professional organizations cited her contributions. Textbooks referenced her protocols. Emma seemed to be everywhere in the field's modern development, despite having died decades ago. Dr. Torres decided to focus a chapter of her book on Emma's specific impact. She interviewed dozens of Emma's former students, now elderly themselves. She visited the preserved Herbalist's Path shop, now a teaching museum. She read Emma's books and unpublished writings archived at Marcus's school. A portrait emerged of someone who had been instrumental in shaping modern clinical herbalism. Emma had bridged multiple worlds: conventional medicine and alternative healing, scientific rigor and traditional wisdom, professional practice and community service, clinical excellence and grassroots accessibility. She showed it was possible to be rigorous without being reductionist, one former student told Dr. Torres. She used scientific method and evidence-based practice, but she also honored traditional knowledge and intuitive wisdom. She didn't see these as opposed, but as complementary. Another student emphasized Emma's commitment to social justice. She insisted that herbal medicine should serve everyone, especially marginalized communities. She trained community health workers, offered free clinics, kept prices affordable. She understood health care as a right, not a commodity. A third highlighted her teaching legacy. Emma trained teachers, not just practitioners. She understood that to really change the field, you needed to train people who would train others. The multiplication effect of that approach is still being felt today. As Dr. Torres compiled these interviews and reviewed documents, she was struck by how Emma's personal transformation had become a template for others. Emma's journey from corporate burnout to meaningful work inspired hundreds of people to make similar changes. She proved it was possible, one former student said. When I was stuck in my unfulfilling job, Emma's story gave me courage. If she could change her life at 40, maybe I could too. Her example showed the way. Dr. Torres's book chapter on Emma became one of the most widely cited pieces about herbalism's modern development. Universities teaching integrative medicine used it.
Herbalism schools shared it with students. People considering career changes into healing work found inspiration in it. Emma's influence continued rippling outward, touching lives decades after her death, through the story of her transformation, the values she lived, the knowledge she shared.
Dr. Torres visited Emma's gravestone in a cemetery overlooking the city. It was simple, per Emma's wishes, just her name, dates, and a single word: Herbalist. Flowers grew around the grave: chamomile, lavender, calendula. Students and grateful patients still came to plant them, to tend them, to remember the woman who had given them so much. Dr. Torres sat by the grave thinking about legacy. Emma had left no children, no genetic descendants, but her influence was more profound than mere biology. She had shaped a field, trained generations of practitioners, inspired countless transformations, improved thousands of lives. That was real legacy. Not DNA, but ideas, values, knowledge flowing forward through time, touching lives across generations. A young woman approached, carrying a small potted herb. She knelt by the grave and planted it carefully. Holy basil, tulsi, sacred to many traditions. "Thank you," the young woman whispered to Emma's grave. "Your book changed my life. I'm starting herbalism school next month. I'm following your path." Dr. Torres watched the young woman tend the newly planted herb, watering it gently, speaking soft words of gratitude. The chain continued. The lineage remained unbroken. Emma's path was still being walked by new seekers finding their way. The green world continues its work. Plants grow, offering medicine to those who know how to receive it. And herbalists continue partnering with plants, generation after generation, carrying forward ancient knowledge while adapting to modern needs. Emma's story is one thread in this vast tapestry of human-plant partnership. But it's a strong thread, brightly colored, woven with integrity and purpose. It strengthens the whole pattern, inspires others, helps create the larger design. In clinics and gardens, in classrooms and kitchens, herbalists work. They prepare tinctures and salves. They teach students. They help patients. They grow medicine. Each is unique, but each is connected to the others through shared knowledge and values. They're part of Emma's legacy, whether they know it or not. The vision she held of accessible, community-based, scientifically sound, yet traditionally rooted herbalism continues through their work. And somewhere, always, someone is discovering Emma's story, reading her books or hearing about her from a teacher, or stumbling across an article or watching the documentary. And that person is thinking, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could change my life. Maybe there's a different path available to me. And if they find the courage to try, if they begin the journey, they become another thread in the tapestry, another link in the chain, another expression of the eternal human impulse toward healing and service and meaningful work. The herbs remember, the gardens remember, the plants continue their patient teaching, offering healing to anyone humble enough to learn, respectful enough to listen, dedicated enough to practice. And the lineage continues, teacher to student, generation to generation, past to present to future, an unbroken chain of green knowledge flowing forward forever.
In a future neither Emma nor any of her students lived to see, herbalism has returned to its rightful place. Not alternative medicine, but integrated medicine. Not fringe practice, but mainstream healing. Not opposed to conventional medicine, but partnering with it. Medical schools teach herbal medicine alongside pharmacology. Hospitals employ herbalists alongside physicians. Insurance covers herbal consultations. Community health centers grow medicinal gardens. This integration honors both scientific progress and traditional wisdom. Evidence-based herbal practice informed by research, but also respecting knowledge passed down through generations. In this future, Emma Morrison is remembered as one of the pioneers who helped make this integration possible. Schools and clinics bear her name. Scholarships support students who couldn't otherwise afford training. Her books are still read, her protocols still used, her vision still guiding the field. But more than specific recognition, Emma lives through the values she embodied. Every herbalist who practices with scientific rigor and traditional wisdom honors Emma's integration of both. Every practitioner who keeps care affordable honors Emma's commitment to accessibility. Every teacher who trains others honors Emma's understanding that knowledge should spread. The herbalist's path she walked has become a highway traveled by thousands. Each traveler walks their own way, but all move in the same direction, toward healing, toward service, toward meaningful work, toward partnership with the green world. In gardens everywhere, medicinal plants grow. Chamomile and calendula, echinacea and elderberry, holy basil and hawthorn. They offer their gifts freely to anyone who approaches with respect and knowledge. And humans continue learning the old partnership, growing plants, preparing medicines, helping each other heal. Generation after generation, the work continues. Emma's journey from corporate executive to master herbalist, from lost to found, from empty to fulfilled, that journey is archetypal. It's available to anyone at any time, endlessly renewable, forever calling. The transformation Emma underwent, hundreds of her students experienced, thousands of readers were inspired by. That transformation remains possible, always, for anyone, at any age. The path calls, the herbs wait, the work continues. Emma sleeps in the earth she loved, her energy feeding plants, her influence feeding generations of healers, her story feeding souls seeking meaning. The green way continues, eternal and renewing, ancient and modern, scientific and spiritual, individual and communal, forever teaching those willing to learn. Sleep now, dear listener. Be held by this green knowledge. Know that transformation awaits, that herbs offer healing, that meaningful work calls to you. Rest in the knowledge that you're part of this lineage, connected to all who came before and all who will come after, woven into the great pattern of healing and service. Dream green dreams. Dream of plants and healing, of purpose and meaning, of lives transformed through courage and dedication. All is well. The herbs are patient. The path is clear.
the work awaits, now and always and forever. The green world endures, the teaching continues, the healing flows on, forever and always, eternally green. Sweet, sweet dreams.
Imagine yourself walking a path through a forest. The path is soft underfoot, moss and fallen leaves cushioning each step. Sunlight filters through the canopy above, creating patterns of light and shadow that dance as branches sway in the gentle breeze. You walk slowly, without destination or hurry. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. Just walking, present with each step, each breath, each moment. As you walk, you notice plants growing alongside the path. Some you recognize: plantain with its broad leaves, yarrow with its feathery foliage and white flowers, dandelion showing both yellow blooms and white seed heads. Others are unfamiliar, but all are beautiful. All have their own particular energy and presence. You stop to examine a patch of violet leaves, heart-shaped and tender. You remember that violets are edible and medicinal, used traditionally for respiratory support and skin care. You pick a single leaf, hold it gently, feel its texture, notice its color. Then you place it carefully back among its companions, leaving the plant to grow. This is the herbalist's way, observing closely, learning continuously, taking only what's needed, always with respect and gratitude. You continue walking. The path leads you to a clearing where several medicinal plants grow in abundance. Chamomile with its apple-scented flowers, calendula blazing orange and gold, lavender perfuming the air, St. John's wort showing cheerful yellow stars. You sit in the center of this clearing, surrounded by healing plants. You close your eyes and breathe deeply, smelling the complex fragrance, floral, herbaceous, earthy, alive. You feel the sun on your face, the earth beneath you, the air moving around you. You understand in this moment that healing isn't something you do or receive in isolation. It's a relationship with plants, with nature, with your own body and spirit, with other people, with all of life. Everything is connected. All is relationship. Emma understood this. It was the foundation of her practice, the core of her teaching. Not just using herbs as tools, but partnering with them, learning from them, honoring the intelligence they carry. You sit with this understanding, letting it settle into your body and awareness. Healing as relationship, medicine as partnership, health as harmony with natural rhythms and cycles. After some time, you don't know how long, you open your eyes. The clearing is exactly as it was, but you see it differently now. Not just plants, but teachers. Not just nature, but family. Not just environment, but home. You stand slowly, bow slightly to the healing plants in gratitude, and continue along the path. You walk differently now, with more presence, more awareness, more connection. The path leads on, winding through the forest, always offering new sights and experiences. You know you could walk this path forever and never exhaust its teachings, never see everything it has to offer. This is the herbalist's path, endless learning, continuous discovery, eternal relationship with the green world. It's a path that called to Emma, that she walked for decades, that she shared with hundreds of students, that continues calling to new walkers in every generation. The path is always there, patient and welcoming, waiting for those ready to walk it. It requires courage to leave conventional paths and walk this greener way. It requires dedication to learn what plants teach. It requires humility to receive healing and wisdom from sources older and wiser than human knowledge. But for those who answer the call, who find the courage, who make the commitment, the path offers treasures beyond measure. Not wealth or fame, but meaning. Not power or status, but purpose. Not success as the world defines it, but fulfillment as the soul knows it. Emma walked this path. She found her way from corporate confusion to green clarity. She transformed from lost seeker to accomplished healer. She became teacher, guide, inspiration for all who followed. Her footsteps remain on the path, visible to those who know how to see them. Her influence infuses the path, strengthening it, making it clearer, helping new walkers find their way. And still the path calls, to anyone feeling lost, to anyone seeking meaning, to anyone ready to partner with plants in the ancient work of healing. The path is there, the plants are waiting, the work continues. Will you walk the green way? Will you answer the call? Will you become part of this lineage of healing? The choice is yours. The path awaits. The herbs are patient. Walk slowly. Observe carefully. Learn humbly. Practice diligently. Serve generously. This is the herbalist's path. This is Emma's legacy. This is the green way. Now and forever. Calling to you. Waiting for you. Always available. Eternally green. Sleep now in this green knowing. Rest in this healing presence. Dream of paths through forests, of plants offering wisdom, of lives transformed through courage and dedication to meaningful work. All is well. The path is clear. The herbs remember. The teaching continues. Sleep deeply. Dream greenly. Wake renewed. The herbalist's path awaits your footsteps, forever and always. Sweet, sweet dreams.
If you listen carefully, in the quiet moments between thoughts, you can hear the herbs speaking. Not in words exactly, but in whispers of green wisdom that bypass language and speak directly to something deeper, to the part of you that remembers, that knows, that understands the ancient partnership between humans and plants. Chamomile whispers of peace, of gentle releasing, of letting go into sleep's embrace. I am here, she says. I soften hard edges. I ease troubled minds. I bring calm to chaos. Lavender speaks of clarity and cleansing. I purify, she says. I clear away what no longer serves. I create space for healing and renewal. Rose tells of heart healing, of opening to love. I mend, she says. I soothe grief. I remind hearts of their capacity for beauty and connection.
Echinacea speaks of resilience and boundaries. I strengthen, she says. I help you stand firm in your own power. I support your natural defenses against all that would deplete you. Holy basil offers wisdom about balance and adaptation. I bring you back to center, she says. I help you respond rather than react. I teach resilience through flexibility. Each herb carries knowledge, offers gifts, serves specific needs. Together, they form an green pharmacopoeia of healing that humans have worked with for millennia. This is ancient partnership, older than civilization, fundamental to human survival and thriving. Emma learned to hear these plant voices through years of study and practice, through hundreds of hours sitting with plants in gardens and forests, through preparing and working with countless medicines. She developed sensitivity to plant communication. She taught her students to listen too, not as mysticism or fantasy, but as practical skill. When you work intimately with plants, you learn their languages, the language of fragrance, of texture, of energy, of effect. You develop relationship, and relationship allows communication. The plants want to help, Emma would tell students. They're generous beyond measure. They offer healing freely. Our job is to learn their gifts, understand their applications, use them wisely and respectfully. When we do, we partner with immense intelligence and healing power.
This wasn't romanticizing plants. It was recognizing reality. Plants do heal. They contain compounds that affect human physiology in specific, measurable ways. They have been refined by millions of years of evolution. They carry intelligence in their chemistry, their growth patterns, their interactions with environment. Modern science confirms what traditional knowledge always knew. Plants are powerful medicines, effective when used appropriately, safe when used wisely, valuable when used respectfully. Emma bridged traditional wisdom and modern science. She honored both. She learned from both. She taught both. This integration was her gift to herbalism, showing that rigor and reverence weren't opposed, but complementary. And now, years after her death, her integration continues influencing the field. Herbalists trained in her lineage practice evidence-based herbalism that also honors traditional knowledge. They use research and clinical trials, but also intuition and plant relationship. They're scientists and shamans both, honoring all ways of knowing. This is the future Emma helped create, herbalism as mature healthcare profession, scientifically rigorous, yet spiritually aware, clinically effective, yet affordable and accessible, professional, yet heart-centered. It's a future where people have real choices about healthcare, where conventional medicine and herbal medicine work together rather than in opposition, where patients are empowered with knowledge about gentle, natural healing approaches, where healthcare is a right, not a commodity. Emma worked toward this future through every patient consultation, every class taught, every student trained, every medicine prepared, every article written. She contributed her threads to the tapestry, trusting others would contribute theirs, knowing collectively they were weaving something valuable. And the weaving continues. In clinics and gardens, in schools and homes, herbalists work. They honor Emma's legacy, whether they know her name or not, simply by practicing values she embodied,
accessibility, rigor, compassion, reverence for plants, commitment to service. The green path she walked has become highway. The knowledge she shared has multiplied. The vision she held has manifested. Her influence ripples forward through time, touching lives, transforming practices, shaping the field. Emma would be amazed and humbled to see her legacy. She never sought fame or recognition. She just wanted to do good work, help people heal, share knowledge freely. She succeeded beyond what she could have imagined. Her story continues inspiring transformation. Every year, people read her books or hear about her journey and think, maybe I could change my life too. Maybe there's a different path available. And when they find courage to explore, when they take first steps on their own transformative paths, they honor Emma. They become another thread in the tapestry, another link in the chain, another expression of the eternal human seeking for meaning and purpose. The herbs are patient. They've been here far longer than humans. They'll be here long after we're gone. They offer their healing freely, generation after generation, asking only respect and sustainable harvest in return.
The herbalist's path remains open, calling to new walkers in every age. It called to Emma when she was lost. It calls to you now, if you're ready to listen. What does your soul truly want? What work would bring you meaning? What life would feel authentic? What calling have you been ignoring? Listen carefully, in the quiet. The answers are there. The path is visible. The herbs are speaking. Will you listen? Will you answer? Will you walk? The choice is yours. The possibility is real. The transformation awaits. Emma's path, the herbalist's path, the green path home, now and forever and always, calling softly through time, waiting patiently for walkers, offering healing, meaning, purpose, forever green, eternally available, always present. Sleep now in green peace, rest in herbal blessing, dream of paths and plants and lives transformed through courage and choice. All is well. The herbs remember. The path continues. The healing flows. Now and always and forever. The green way endures. Blessings of the green world upon you. May you find your path. May you walk it well. May you serve with Emma's heart. Sweet dreams, dear listener. The herbs are with you, always, forever, green. Every ending is a beginning. Every completion contains new potential. Emma's story ends, but the story of herbalism, the story of humans and plants partnering in healing, continues without end. Right now, somewhere, a seed is germinating, a chamomile seed pushed into soil by careful hands, lavender taking root in a garden bed, echinacea spreading its roots deep into earth. Right now, somewhere, a student is learning, studying plant properties, practicing medicine making, discovering the satisfaction of working with herbs. Perhaps that student will become an excellent clinician, perhaps a gifted teacher, perhaps both. Right now, somewhere,
A patient is healing, finding relief from insomnia through nervine herbs, recovering from illness with immune-supporting plants, discovering that gentle, natural approaches can address conditions that pharmaceuticals couldn't fully resolve. Right now, somewhere, someone is reading Emma's story, feeling resonance with her journey, thinking, maybe I could change my life too, considering possibilities they had dismissed as impractical, feeling courage rise. Each of these moments is small. Each is also profound. Together, they form the ongoing story of herbalism, ancient practice meeting modern needs, traditional wisdom integrated with scientific knowledge, healing accessible to all who seek it. Emma planted seeds through her life and work. Some grew into immediate results. Patients healed, students trained. Others took longer to germinate. Values that influenced the field, vision that shaped future developments, inspiration that sparked transformations years or decades later. The full extent of Emma's influence can't be measured. It's too vast, too dispersed, too interwoven with countless other influences. But it's real. It continues. It grows. Every herbalist trained in her lineage plants more seeds. Every patient helped spreads word about natural healing. Every student inspired goes on to inspire others. The ripples extend infinitely outward. This is true legacy, not monuments or memorials, but living influence that continues growing and evolving. Emma lives in the herbalism she helped shape. She lives in communities she served. She lives in students she trained. She lives in values she embodied. Most of all, she lives in possibility, the possibility of transformation she demonstrated, the possibility of meaningful work she proved viable, the possibility of authentic life she modeled so completely. That possibility is available always, to anyone, at any age, in any circumstances. The specifics may vary. Not everyone will become an herbalist, but the principle holds. Transformation is possible. Meaningful work is achievable. Authentic life is within reach. You just need courage to leave what doesn't serve you, patience to learn what calls to you, dedication to practice what you've learned, generosity to share what you've discovered. Emma had these qualities. She developed them through years of practice. They're not innate gifts, but cultivated skills. Anyone can develop them. Will you? Will you find your courage? Will you discover your calling? Will you walk your path?
The herbs are patient. They'll wait. They've waited millions of years already. They can wait for you to be ready. But don't wait too long. Life is short. Time is precious. The work that calls to you deserves your attention now, not someday. Emma waited until 39. She often wondered what her life would have been if she'd found herbalism younger. More years of practice, more patients helped, more students trained. But she also knew she found it exactly when she was ready. Not sooner, not later. The timing was perfect because it was her timing. Your timing is perfect too. Whenever you're ready, whether that's now or next year or 10 years from now, that will be the right time. Trust your own process. Honor your own journey. But also stay open. Listen to whispers of possibility. Notice what calls to you. Pay attention to resonance. Your true path is speaking to you always. The question is, are you listening? Emma's path was herbalism. Yours might be different. The specific doesn't matter as much as the principle. Find work that serves, that engages your whole self, that contributes something valuable to the world. When you find that work, commit to it fully. Learn everything you can. Practice diligently. Share generously. Serve humbly. This is how you honor the work, honor yourself, honor all who came before and all who will come after. This is Emma's final teaching, the essence of her legacy. Live authentically, work meaningfully, serve generously, learn continuously, share freely. Simple principles, profound impact, available to anyone willing to practice them. The herbalist's path taught Emma these truths. Your path will teach you too, whatever that path may be. Stay open, stay humble, stay dedicated. The green world supports you. The ancestors guide you. The future awaits your contribution. Walk well, dear listener. Walk your path with Emma's integrity, Emma's dedication, Emma's heart. The herbs bless you. The plants remember you. The green way welcomes you. Now and always, forever and ever. May you find your path. May you walk it true. May you serve with joy. Sweet dreams, beloved seeker. The path is yours. Walk it well. Forever green. Amen, and blessed be. Sweet, sweet dreams.